Hey guys, I'm Ich. I've been a sports videographer for way too many years, and one question that I get all the time in my DMs and in the comments of my videos is, what camera should I buy to start in sports videography? And the answer is always the same, and I'm sure it's disappointing to hear, but it is what it is. The answer is, I don't know. There's way too many variables for me to point you in one direction. But there is one constant though. A constant that all the camera stores and the camera brands use as a marketing tool to sell you their camera, even though that constant is the one thing that you should never, ever have on your camera. Okay, so first of all, if you want to know what cameras I use when filming sports, there is a link in the description below to my game day filming kit, and in there you'll find all the cameras, the lenses, the accessories, everything that I use on game day. And I do make updates to my game day filming kit quite frequently, actually, mainly the lenses, because I like to try different things. I like to evolve, I strive to get better and be more creative, and the gear is a big part of that. So, what's the one thing that all the camera brands are using as a selling point when in reality you should avoid it at all costs? That, my friends, is a digital zoom. First of all, we all have access to a digital zoom in one way or another, and I'll get back to that later, but let me tell you why you should never use it. And I'm talking to you specifically, my camcorder using friends. Because when you're shopping for camcorders online and you see words like 30x digital zoom, and you're like, what's not to love? First of all, you got digital. What's the alternative? Optical. Optical, digital, at face value, if you don't know what you're dealing with, digital sounds much better. Optical sounds a bit like an older technology. And then you got 30x, which sounds like you could be on the very last row of the stands and still catch an extreme close-up of someone kicking a ball. But in reality, an optical zoom is and will always be better than a digital zoom, even though it is in fact an older technology. So anyway, let me explain to you once and for all what the difference is between the two, and you'll understand. With an optical zoom, you use the optics of the zoom lens to bring the subject closer to your image sensor. Different lenses can achieve different optical zoom ranges. And on camcorders, the zoom definition is usually displayed with numbers such as 2x, 4x, 8x, and so on. These represent the number of times that you can magnify an image. For example, with 4x optical zoom, you can magnify your image up to 4 times larger. A digital zoom, on the other hand, isn't zooming into a scene at all. Instead, it crops into the central portion of the image and stretches it out to fill your frame. In other words, the digital zoom works in the exact same way as the scaling tool in your editing software. And just like when scaling up in Premiere Pro, using the digital zoom always comes at the price of image quality. And it's pretty obvious why. Imagine filming with this camera, which has a 16 megapixel sensor right here. If you put an optical zoom lens on it, whether the focal length is at 12mm or 60mm, we are still using the entire sensor, all 16 megapixels of it. But with a digital zoom camera, like the one we all have on our phones for example, the megapixel resolution decreases as you zoom into the image. This is because the digital camera is cropping the image and then stretching it back out to fit the original size. In other words, we now have less pixels in the same size image. To tackle the issue, digital cameras then add some made-up pixels to fill in the gaps, but because these pixels are made up, they don't have the same level of detail as optical zoom. Hence the impact on the image quality. One little side note that I would like to add is that digital zooms are much better today than they were 10, 15 years ago. So most likely they will be much better in 10, 15 years from now. But, will we ever get to a point where a digital zoom is just as good as an optical zoom? Honestly, Probably. I don't know when. It's probably going to take a very long time, but I'm guessing one day it will happen, that the technology is so good that the human eye won't be able to see the difference. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those things where if they do that, then all the lenses become kind of obsolete. So they're sort of shooting themselves in the foot, and it's the electric car all over again. So we'll just have to sit and wait and see what happens. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. My name is Ich, and I hope I earned the privilege of your time.